The installation of an artificial grass play surface is a 5-step process and includes the following. First, the design process. Second, ground preparation. 3, safety surface installation. 4, synthetic grass installation. 5, synthetic grass infill process. Step 1, the design phase. A quality artificial grass play surface for playgrounds begins with the design phase. The design phase is critical to setting the installation crew up for success and lays the groundwork to optimize the longevity of the play surface. First, take a look at drainage. Will the existing drainage system be adequate? Will the project area require additional drains or modified drains, grading or sloping? The soil condition also needs to be examined. Will you need to wet or soften the ground or use a jackhammer to remove large rocks? Rain-soaked soil may need to dry a few days before work begins. Snow or ice will need to be removed and the area dried out. Next, take underground utilities and irrigation into account. Identify all irrigation lines, electrical conduit, and other potential buried items or lines that could be damaged. Then, it's time for longevity planning. It's important to survey the area and accommodate for situations that may damage the turf in the future. For example, in the case of rodents or ground animals, rodent wire may be appropriate. Rodents cannot go through turf, but they can tunnel underneath, causing undulations and trip or ankle injury hazards. Next, what existing design elements are there? Is there a concrete border? Is it smooth? Or will the installation crew need to nail into concrete footings? If the job calls for curbing, edging, or border materials, install it prior to cutting the synthetic grass, as this will give a more accurate measurement. When measuring the area, be sure to design the layout to minimize the number of seams, which will reduce overall labor costs. Remember, all synthetic grass products will have a grain direction that must be taken into account. Note the grain direction and install all sections in the same grain pattern. Installing synthetic grass in opposing grain patterns may result in noticeable seams. Step 2, ground preparation. It's important to factor in the critical fall height requirements prior to removing existing organics. The amount of critical fall height may require the removal of 8 inches or more of existing materials. Critical fall height playground pad requirements for playgrounds vary depending on the height of the equipment and the artificial grass products being installed. Check individual product specifications for exact details. When beginning the removal process, if natural sod is present, utilize a sod cutter, shovel, and pickaxes to remove all unwanted grass, sod, and vegetation. Larger installations will require use of heavy machinery. Remove all unwanted tree roots, mulch, and large rocks. Be sure to consult an arborist before removing any large tree roots, as their removal may affect the integrity of the root structure and the tree's ability to survive. Next, it's time to prepare the base. Installing the base surface under the synthetic grass is critical to maintaining the stability and integrity of the playground installation. Class 2 road base, decomposed granite, or chat should be spread evenly and to the required density for your geographic region standards. A full list of suggested base requirements by region is available at easyturf.com/ground prep. Grade and level the sub-base material to meet design and drainage requirements. Then lightly wet the project area and compact the base material with a roller compactor or plate compactor. Continual passes over the project area are required until a compaction rate of 90% or greater is achieved. When dry, the project area should be smooth and firm to eliminate unwanted bumps under the grass system. After the base is installed, the top of the blade should extend to 1/2 inch above any surrounding hardscape for the most authentic natural sod look. Add the height of the blade to the depth of the compacted base material to calculate how much material needs to be removed at these edges. Also factor in playground pad if necessary. The area can have a slight grade, taking into account any drainage requirements. Step 3. Installation of the playground safety surface. Installation of the safety surfacing is done after the subbase has been completed, as the safety surface is installed directly over the subbase material. Because of expansion and contraction, we advise laying the safety pad side by side tightly during the highest heat of the day when it is the most expanded. The pad can shrink as much as 1/2 of an inch when the weather is cold, so if the gap is too wide to start with when the pad is expanded on a warm day, then on cold days you will have an abnormally large gap between the 24 square foot pads. This gap could show through the turf depending on thickness of turf and how much infill is used. When installing the safety pad on an extremely cold day, a 1/8 inch gap is recommended so there is room to expand. The safety pad has excellent drainage capabilities, so there isn't a need to leave a gap specifically for drainage. The safety pad will also contract naturally during rainfall. Step 4. Artificial grass installation. After the safety pad is installed, you can begin unrolling the synthetic grass to stretch across the top of the prepared base. Do not drag the grass, as this will displace the safety pad. If the grass has wrinkles, lay it flat in the sun. Be sure to have the grain direction of each roll facing the same direction. Then cut the grass to fit the project area with a razor knife or carpet cutter. Carpet knives made for jute backing carpets are helpful when speed is desired for cutting through the thick artificial turf backing. It's best if cuts are made from the backside of the synthetic grass to see the stitch rows. Complete cutting of the entire project area before any seaming. Cut curved edges in small 6 to 12 inch increments to match the design. Using a paint pen to draw lines on the backside of the grass is recommended. Seaming is a crucial part of the artificial grass installation process. Careful and precise cutting and gluing is needed to create invisible seams. When seaming, trim the edge of each piece as straightly as possible and maintain the stitch row width that exists in between the other rows of fiber stitching. Once the edges of each roll are straight, lay them adjacent to each other on the base in the desired position. Now double check that the stitch lines match. For example, if the row between stitches is too thick, trim down the thicker sides. If it's too thin, cut to the next row of stitching. If the cuts are straight and the turf lines match, the seams will be virtually invisible. Once an accurate width is achieved between stitch rows, place both ends of the grass edges together. Line up the stitch lines and fold back the edges of the synthetic grass sections to lay the 6-inch seaming material underneath the grass sections. Apply weather-resistant adhesive using a zigzag pattern. Sometimes the turf is secured back during this process with landscape nails that are removed after the tape and adhesive have been readied. Now fold the two sections of grass down together over seaming material to form one seamless piece of grass and place weight on the seam to hold the grass in place while the glue is drying. Perimeter boards should be used in every playground installation with an artificial grass surface. Attach the grass to the perimeter border, which is normally treated lumber or a Trex type material, with the appropriate galvanized nail or staples, usually 20D or 40D nails. Use of an air gun is acceptable. When installing turf around playground poles, box the pole with a perimeter board, treated lumber or Trex material, and fill the area between the pole and the perimeter with an expanding foam sealant. Secure the turf in the same manner as securing the turf to the playground border. If playground pad is being used, there is no need to box in the pole. However, the expanding foam should still be used. Then secure the turf to the playground with glue adhesive. Before moving on to the infill process, be sure to turn on underground utilities and irrigation to check that everything is in good working order and complete any necessary repair work. Step 5. Installation of infill material. Proper infill installation is critical to maintaining your synthetic grass system. Infilling the grass helps to protect it from the elements. The infill material must be spread evenly. Utilizing a drop spreader is highly recommended. A broadcast spreader is not recommended, as it does not dispense the sand into the turf at a heavy enough rate. Do not dump the infill in large quantities on the grass, as it will be very difficult to have an even infill distribution. Most of the time, infill is applied at a rate of 2 pounds per square foot. A 50-pound bag should cover 25 square feet. These are estimated infill material amounts. Actual infill use may be adjusted based on design requirements. Check the individual product specifications for exact infill ratios. Do not attempt to install the infill material while the synthetic grass or the infill material is wet, as the infill will clump. Place the infill material into the drop spreader and set dispenser gauge on 5 or medium. Distribute the infill material liberally but evenly over the grass. Spread 1/2 pounds of infill material per pass. In between spreading the layers of infill material, brush the synthetic grass fibers upright with a stiff bristled industrial broom. Repeat the infill process until the infill material is even spread so that no more than 3/4 of an inch of the synthetic grass fibers or 1/2 of the blades are exposed above the top of the grass. After the infill process is complete, water the entire area evenly with a hose to settle the material into place. The infill can be adjusted again after it is dry. For more information on synthetic grass for playgrounds, visit easyturf.com/playgrounds.